When did you pick up photography, or is it something you've always done?
In 1995, my father bought me my first 35mm camera. We purchased it at the World Trade Center, actually, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. My grandfather was a product photographer for Kodak in New York City for years, and then my father was an amateur photographer as well, you know, always submitting to those calendars and calendar contests and things like that. So we would have slideshows as a kid. We would see everybody's work, my grandfather's work and my father's work, and we just brought everybody together, you know, and just had a really great time. And you know, there's some romance to photography. So I was really drawn to that. So in '95, I was 15 years old. I got a camera for Christmas, and then I signed up for photography at Peru Central School, and then it just never stopped. You know, it became more than a hobby, and now it's a business, but it's been amazing.
And now it's your profession?
It is my profession. I love it.
How did you decide to get involved with this project and do this?
So when it happened, when it broke in the news, I honestly didn't think that it was going to be very long before they found them. And then it turned out that it was taking a long time. So about a week after the escape, I thought it would be interesting and a lot of fun to kind of go up to Dannemora and start taking pictures of everything that was unfolding up around the walls of the prison. So that's what I did. I jumped in my Jeep and I drove up there, and they let me in. I think they saw the camera and they thought I was news, and I went up and I photographed some of the police coming out of the sewers with the officer Matt Ross. He's a local canine officer.
Canine handler, yeah.
And you know, and his dog Buck were coming up out of the sewers, and I was getting these amazing shots. I was like, "Holy smokes, this is nuts!" You know. So I went home that day and I uploaded the images, and I was going through them and I shared them on social media, and people just were like loving these shots. So I just got back in my Jeep the next day, and I went back up. I did the same thing, and if you remember, it was pouring like forever. But I just kept going. Every day, I just kept going up and just coming back with all these shots. And then things started happening in different areas of New York, you know, over in Malone and Owl's Head and things like that. And I just kept going there. I just followed what was happening. And what I really wanted to do was capture a little bit of the behind the scenes of what was going on, stuff you weren't seeing so much in the news. More of, you know, like the location that Matt was, or Richard Matt was shot and killed. I photographed the trailer. I went inside the trailer. I photographed, you know, possibly where he slept his last night. I don't know, who knows.
What was that like when you went in to that spot?
I was nervous. I was very nervous. I was shaking. I was trying to be quick about it because I knew that I was on someone else's land.
And was David Sweat still on the loose at that point?
David Sweat was still on the loose at that point.
So you didn't know where he was?
No.
He could have still been in
No,
that
I
area.
had no clue where he was. And actually, the day before Richard Matt was shot, my wife and I were out in Owl's Head, right in the area of Malone and Owl's Head, in the woods, photographing all these locations like the terrain and things like that, because I really wanted to document what everybody was going through in some of that terrain. So who knows? Maybe they saw us. I don't know.
Were you surprised that you were able to gain access?
I was a little surprised that I was able to get in some of the locations that I did get to, but at the same time, I don't think that they were putting any barriers up to where I wasn't allowed to come in. So I really tried to stay, in a lot of cases, really tried to stay in legal shooting areas, you know, on public sidewalks and things like that.
Were you freelancing for anybody? Was anybody buying your photographs?
I had bumped into some anchors from CNN, and they really liked some of the shots that I had taken, and I just gave it to them just for the fun factor of it. It was really interesting to see the shots being used on the nightly news on CNN and things like that. But I was not freelancing for anybody. It really turned into a personal project.
When you went to Dannemora the first day, you mentioned you just happened upon officers coming out of the sewer, out of the manhole that the two inmates escaped from with the dog. What was that like to have that happen before you? As a photographer, was it one of those moments where you're like, "This, I can't believe this is happening"?
I couldn't believe it was happening. I was upset I didn't have certain lenses that I could really get in there and really be creative and capture some moments that would have been really great with different lenses and things. But to see that all unfold, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was exciting. It was interesting, beyond interesting. It was, you know, it was a lot of like shock and awe almost, you know, like watching all this stuff happen right in front of you.
Those were great shots of them coming up out of the manhole.
Thank you very much.
Over the next couple of weeks, as the manhunt continued, you got pretty close to a number of police officers. Were they a little antsy about and allowing you to get that close to photograph them?
Yeah, a lot of the officers that you see that I photographed, I always got their okay before I photographed them. I always told everybody that I approached what I was doing and why I was there, and hopefully someday I was going to have a gallery at the Strand Center for the Arts, and it actually happened. But I always let them know what I was doing. Some of them said, "No way, you know, I'm here doing my job, you know, no." And then there was others that I think understood what I was trying to do and said, "Yeah, quickly."
What do you think you were able to capture in these photographs?
You know, I hope that I was able to capture these moments that were unfolding so quickly that I don't think that people had enough time to really stop and look. You were only shown what you saw on TV unless you were there. So I really wanted to get deep behind the scenes and like some of the terrain that I was photographing. I wanted to print it very large too. My goal was that you could almost walk into the scene. So that was the point.
And these are large photographs. Why did you make them so large?
I think that we're all so used to seeing everything this big now these days, and everything's so quick. I just wanted people to get lost a little bit in the photos.
So you were out there, well, the manhunt was about 23 days altogether. So you were out there for almost 3 weeks, not quite, or was it 2 weeks?
It's actually still going on. Fingers crossed I have a portrait session lined up with Sergeant Cook, who shot David Swatt. So.
Where do you plan to take his portrait? Do you know
I don't know, and
yet?
he hasn't given me the okay yet. We haven't been able to connect yet. But
that's something you'd like to do.
It's something I would love to do. I think that I was so drawn to Richard Matt's death in particular, and it's just something very interesting to me, like crimes and things of that nature where people do things that typical people wouldn't do is very intriguing to me. It sounds sick and twisted, but it's not like that for me. I don't think. It's more of what was going through their mind. And when I went out to the trailer, I was actually following the tracks and the footsteps of the agents that shot and killed Richard Matt, and probably even following his tracks. And when I found the location, it took me an hour and a half to find that location.
And how did you shoot it? Did you have any special lighting, or how did you shoot the majority of these photographs?
My goal was to add one light. So you have the sunlight plus one strobe from my studio, which is really, you want that in a more controlled environment, but I was running around literally with one strobe and a cord and a battery pack and a beauty dish and my camera, and I'm running like I'm in war. It was crazy. I felt like a war photographer almost.
How many photos did you take?
Oh man, hundreds. hundreds of photos. These are just some of the ones that really stood out to me. And it's very expensive to produce these images, and it was all on my own dime. So it really got to a point where I had to say, okay.
Was it hard to narrow it down to choose?
It was very hard to choose.
The photos to show?
Yes, it was very hard to choose. I tried to tell the story the best I could with some of the images that were my favorite. Someday I wish to maybe re-explore this again and see if some of the other shots.
Maybe go back and look at some of the others, yeah.
Take a little peek again.
Is there one that's your favorite, that you either love the moment, love how you were able to capture the moment, or that you really think?
I think this one is one of my favorites. It's a bit grainy because I zoomed into the file so much, but this was caught completely by accident.
That's Joyce Mitchell's.
This is Joyce Mitchell coming out of the Plattsburgh City Courthouse one day.
After she entered her guilty plea. Was it here in downtown at the Government Center?
The Government Center, yeah.
So that would have been right after she entered her guilty plea.
Sure, yeah, so after she entered her guilty plea. And what I love about the photo, and again, it was a complete accident, is that you have the prison garb, you have the chains and the handcuffs, and you even have, you know, the impression of the handcuffs on her skin, the keys to the cuff that are on the officer next to her. Her wedding ring is still on, and there's a teardrop that I didn't even see when I took the photo. The photo itself is much farther away of her whole body. And as a photographer, I'm always taking pictures and zooming in to see, you know, where's the focal point and, you know, where was I focused on at the time. And then I scanned down and I saw the drop, and I didn't think it was a tear or anything, but then I heard that she was actually crying in court. And then it all kind of made sense. And then I have this, like, to me, this incredible story within one image, and I just thought it was really powerful. And the one thing that is even more powerful to me is that her wedding ring is on, and that really, you know, you could say what you want about Lyle and Joyce's relationship. I know a lot of people say things, but there's something about the power of love that's keeping them together that I'm really intrigued about. And I've been in contact with Lyle a couple times, and we're going to try to work something out with another photo session with Lyle and really try to capture that love as a personal project.
When you zoomed in and you had that moment where you saw this, what went through your mind?
Probably something I shouldn't say. I probably got choked up. I'm a crier, I'll admit it. So yeah, I think I got choked up and chills, everything like that. You know,
as a photographer, was that one of those eureka moments where it's like?
It was an accident for sure, and I can't say it was anything planned for sure. It was just one of those aha moments.
You're hopeful that folks that come here to the Strand Center for the Arts and look at the photographs will see images that they didn't see on the nightly news, and maybe come away with an appreciation of what happened, how it unfolded, who all was involved, or maybe come away with a different impression of what they've believed up to this point?
Yeah, I just really wanted to slow things down. You know, with news, and you know, with news it's so fast, and the next day it's all over and everybody kind of goes on their way. And I just wanted people to be able to come in and take a look at really what happened, and for one, document it. And then for two, to have people walk around and enjoy the images, enjoy to, you know, I don't know if that's the right term, but appreciate what happened.
And images, stills, you can reflect, unlike with video
exactly.
and television. And
just stops time. You know, just stop time. You know, we live in such a fast-paced world now. Everything is within seconds. within seconds. You look at a Vine, I think the app Vine, it's only 16 seconds. And that's what our life is now. It's frustrating at times, but as a still photographer, these are what we hope people enjoy.
Have you watched people come into the exhibit and actually take time to study the photographs? And is that something as a photographer that you like to see and that
I've never had anything like this. I've never had an exhibit whatsoever. I've never done anything like this. So at the opening, somebody had actually walked up to me and was telling me how these photos made her feel and how appreciative she was that I did it. And I'm like crying, you know, as she's like talking to me. And those are the things that are really, really special that I didn't think would happen. You know, it's just all been pretty amazing.
So Sergeant Cook, that's still to be arranged. You've made the offer to take his portrait if he.
Yeah, I made the offer to Albany. I got the green light. I just need to make it happen. I need to make that connection because from what I'm hearing is that he doesn't want to be seen as a hero, and that's fine. He doesn't have to be seen as he doesn't have to think he's seen as a hero, but in reality he is. And I understand the fact that he doesn't want that attention. But he's in the history books now as to ending all of this. And that's pretty amazing.
Is there a particular location you would dream of being able to photograph him, either the field where he shot David Sweat or any particular location? Or will the focus more be on him?
The focus is really on the subject for me. To have him out in the field, yeah, that'd be cool. But honestly, I would like to look into his eyes, I think, you know, and that'd be the focus.
We've only really seen one image of him. It's a photograph that we saw in the Press Republican and elsewhere, and I think even a group shot. And so that's the only photograph really that we've seen of him. So that would be probably, for you, that would be...
for me, it would be very special, personally, just because I followed this for so long, and it just would help complete the series. I would love to shake his hand. I would love to interact with him just a little bit. You know, I'm not going to ask him any questions. I don't have questions for him. You know, I just, from a photographer's point of view, documenting all of this from start to finish, it doesn't feel finished yet for me. And that would really help close the door on this gallery.
The Escape is the name of the exhibit. It runs through October 2nd.
October 2nd, yeah.
Here at the Strand Center for the Arts.